This is one of those episodes that you definitely have to watch because his coding game makes $1 million per month. I didn't stutter. Not per year, per month. Wow. Let's just get into it. Where's the volume? Let's refresh and then literally dive into it right now. The volume should be calm now.
I built an online learning platform for software engineers to almost $1 million in monthly revenue, sitting usually around 30K a day at the moment.
How does this guy make $1 million a month when he has hundreds of competitors in a saturated market?
And a lot of that growth is due to something I call the purple cow strategy.
Lane is a software engineer who decided to start a side project called boot.dev. It started to make a little money until one day he came across a marketing channel that would explode his business.
The big shift was going from just blogging to starting with Boot.
I sat down with Lane for a couple hours to learn about his story and figure out what it really takes to build an 8-figure business as a developer. And good news is he shared everything, including why you should never copy someone else's business idea, what most people get wrong about MVPs, and a full breakdown of his revenue, costs, and everything you want to know about his $1 million per month business. Now, let's get into it. I'm Pat Walls, and this is Starter Story. All right, welcome Lane.
Excited.
Welcome to the channel. Tell me a little bit about who you are and what you built.
Yeah, my name's Lane Waggoner. I'm the founder of boot.dev. It's an online learning platform for software engineers, and it's very interactive. That's kind of the defining unique trait of it. Really, we're just trying to get you doing as close to what you would be doing in the real world as a software engineer. So we're trying to unsandbox the experience and have you go through the courses like you would in the real world. And we're making almost $1 million a month at the moment.
Crazy.
Can you give me a further breakdown of how this works as a business? What's the business model here?
So it's a coding first platform where you write a ton of code, both on your local machine and in the browser. And all of our content is free. There's about 30 courses, but you lose interactivity after a certain point if you're not a paying member. And we're currently sitting at 25,332 active paying members.
You built this website to almost $1 million a month. There's a lot of coding courses and a lot of stuff out there. What did you do differently? What is your secret ingredient for this business?
In this market, online learning, you've got to differentiate pretty hard because there's a lot of competition in the space. We kind of had different differentiators along the way as we grew the business over the last 4 years. The first was a content differentiation. So we're serving this market of people that want to learn back-end technologies and just aren't finding the resources because front-end is so dominant in the online learning space. The next differentiator was you should make your thing feel totally different, totally unique. And I really was inspired by Seth Godin's book, The Purple Cow. Fantastic marketing book. But the basic idea is when someone lands on your site, as a new entrepreneur, it can be really tempting to go look at a bunch of competitors' websites and
then
like,
copy
oh man,
it.
they're so beautiful, they're so well designed. I should make my website look like theirs. Absolutely, you should not do that.
Let's go back. Let's, if you can give me a little bit of a timeline of what it looked like, how you came up with the idea for this.
Before we say, and the only reason why I'm saying absolutely you should not do that is because then you just look like them. You now look like the copycat. Oh yeah, they're trying to be like, if you copied, for example, Nike's website, someone who knows Nike, when they land on your website, oh, this looks a bit like Nike. It doesn't look original. There isn't an original stamp on it. So you actually want to stand out and be different, completely different. Like they're doing this, I'm doing the opposite. That proves to, it's proven its weight basically. So it works. There might be some unique cases out there, but that tends to work very well. Let's see some of these comments real quick.
What were you doing before you were running this huge business?
Yeah, so I was making about 200K total comp at the time, leading just a small team of 3 at that time. I've always wanted to build a business. I've always wanted to get out of the 9-to-5 employee work.
race.
The business, boot.dev, had just started making about $2,000 a month. So multiply that by 12, it's like 24K, right? And then take into account any expenses, like you're basically not making any money. So I'm talking with my wife about this. I'm like, it's making 2K a month. Like that's not so bad. And I really like it. And I feel like if I put more time into it, we could grow this thing. She was incredibly nervous about that idea because obviously I'm earning $200K a month. We've got our second child on the way. She did not like the risk. Frankly, I didn't even really like the idea of taking that much risk. So as it happens, the CFO at the company I was working at went to go work with an ex-CEO of mine, so a mutual friend, and I went and pitched him and his partner on the idea of investing in Boot Dev. And so he gave me the angel funding. It was $330K, but it gave me enough of like assurance that, okay, we could at least have a couple of years of runway to try this new business.
Okay, let's talk about ideas. How did you find this idea?
Yeah, so I was a back-end engineering manager, and the impetus for the whole thing was I was trying to hire Go developers. This is back in 2020. I was having a hard time. Like, I'd open up, a job position, and I'd get like 5, 6, 7 people applying for the job. And so it really just seemed to be that people getting into coding were gravitating towards the front-end side and almost being pushed to the front-end side by online learning platforms. So it just seemed to me like there's this huge vacuum in the market where if you wanted to learn back-end stuff, you want to learn databases, infrastructure, it's very hard to do it online.
All right, let's talk about building. As a developer, how did you take this idea from 0 to 1?
So you should have a very good idea of who you're building for and what problem you're solving, and you should just solve that problem, but you should solve it really fucking well. Because if you don't have a great solution, you're not going to break into the space, but you should tightly scope what you're building. I see this mistake all the time too. The idea of just packing on new features, solving different problems. You should only be listening to what problems your customers have. And then you should be filtering out any problems from customers that aren't exactly the type of customer that you want to serve. In my opinion, the most dangerous thing you can do is try to serve multiple customer personas.
What's your take on building MVPs?
So I think a lot of people, myself, as I launched Boot Dev, think about this incorrectly. MVP doesn't mean shitty product. And it can't mean that. If it does.
That is true, because a lot of entrepreneurs, and most of you guys on this are entrepreneurs, right? Think MVP, let me just put out the deadest thing, the worst thing I can. You might want to switch that up a tiny bit. So if you're operating 100%, put out something that's like 80%, 70% at most. 60, because then it also keeps you engaged and motivated that, oh wow, it's actually getting some traction. If you put out a 10% effort thing, good luck. But then again, some may argue that, well, it's better for me to put a 10% than actually to put out nothing. It's like, well, what are we doing here? Are you thinking of starting a successful business, or are you just thinking of throwing poo out there and thinking, hoping for the best kind of strategy? So you might want to reconsider, but so far, everything that he's mentioning is good.
It does mean that for you, your product is going to flop pretty hard. You should shoot for minimum quantity, not minimum quality.
Okay, so before we get into growth, there's one thing that I wanted to ask you, because I was looking at the notes and I noticed that you use PostHog for analytics, the software tool PostHog. And I just think that's super cool that both of us use this tool, love this tool, but I just want to hear specifically how you use PostHog and how it helps grow your business.
PostHog is great. I was super happy when we switched over because I was using a different product analytics tool. We realized that PostHog is way cheaper. PostHog's feature set is way more expansive. So integrating with PostHog was super easy, right? Their pricing model makes sense from a data usage standpoint. And to me, the biggest thing was that PostHog feels like it's run by developers who know marketing, not non-technical marketers. Anyways, yeah, I highly recommend PostHog for product analytics.
Man, I completely agree. PostHog is today's sponsor, and
I was gonna say it felt like a sponsor, like ad-ish, and then yeah.
A/B test affects the entire conversion.
This is a long sponsor ad,
Marketing and distribution. How did you get users
but overall,
to Boot.dev?
I still love this channel because Starter Story always gives us, amazing, awesome videos. So let's make sure, because I'm logged onto a different channel there. Let's subscribe again twice now. Let's carry on. Where's the volume go?
And how did you grow this business?
So from 0 to about 2K a month, we really grew from my blog. It was great for finding people that were really interested in the product, and we did a ton of product development over those first year to 12 months. But then we weren't growing, right? We started to feel a lot more confident in what we were building, but we just weren't getting enough people in the door for it to make sense as a business. And what we quickly found was that trust building, especially in the education space, is extremely important. So working with influencers was like a cheat code because the influencers are already trusted by their audience. So if you can get an influencer to try your thing and like it, you kind of unlock a new little section of the market because now their followers will naturally trust you a lot more. So then from 10K to 30K, we really grew a lot off the back of these free code camp collabs, which was basically me recording an 8-hour course, giving it to free code camp for free so they can publish it on their YouTube channel, and us getting some exposure through that. And so going from 30K up to where we're at now, which is almost $1 million a month, we had to scale what we were doing. Like I wasn't going to be able to create all this video content that was going to drive that amount of traffic. YouTube integrations, YouTube marketing, we've been able to scale that with other creators.
To the next
and
level.
The unique kind of cheat code that we have as Boot Dev is that we have such strong affinity with a gaming audience. So we've actually done most of our YouTube influencer marketing to gaming audiences rather than coding audiences.
Yeah. If you had advice for someone to go do their first influencer collab, what would be like a couple bullet points on that?
So the most important thing is finding the right several influencers to test with. And the easiest way to find the right ones is to talk to your existing customers. Hopefully you have some. Go ask them who they watch, right? Who they listen to. This has been the best way for us to source new influencers to work with. Also, if you're going to work with influencers, there's one giant exploit that you can take advantage of that doesn't work in most other channels, which is if you're incredibly easy to work with and you do a lot of work for the influencer, you can get better deals. You can shoot your own B-roll for the influencer. There's a lot more room for arbitrage when doing one-off deals with influencers. Do everything you can to make their life as easy as possible.
Let's talk about product. We could talk about growth channels all day, but nothing's going to work unless you have a truly great product that people love. So Tell me what you think about that.
I think the right way to think about where you should be spending your time, whether it's on the product or marketing, assuming you're a small team, is that the product is the thing that really is non-negotiable. You need the product to be good, and you need to have confidence in the product before you spend a lot of time and money marketing the product.
Isn't it ironic how entrepreneurs will do the opposite? They will spend so much money, blow through the money, and then later on think to themselves, I don't even like this idea. I think it's cool, but I won't go out of my way to buy it. So if you won't go out of your way to buy it, what makes you think the customers or the potential clients will go out of their way to buy it? You need to design a product that you believe in so much that people need this. They need this. I don't care. They need this, because then it will naturally come out. Even when you present and talk about your product, it will naturally come out. So I completely agree with that. That is priceless.
There's a minimal amount of marketing you do need to do to get some initial users to get product feedback. But in that first, pre-product market fit cycle, all your focus should be on the product and making the product solve the very specific problem for a very specific person that you're trying to get it to solve.
That's great. Let's talk about monetization. What I think is cool about your site is that you kind of give away your stuff for free, and then you charge a small percentage of people who want that extra feature. Can you walk through how your business is monetized and what the customer journey typically looks like?
It was really kind of an experiment at first of could we just make all the content free? And you lose interactivity after a certain point if you're not a paying member. It worked. And I think the right business takeaway was let people really understand the product before we asked them to pay for it. It was resonating enough with them. So that's, again, comes back to the you do need to spend all this time iterating on the product and making sure that you're actually solving the problem. And you need to be able to convince people that your product solves the problem before the purchasing decision happens, which just so happens in our case to be a longer free trial or free demo of the interactive features.
Well, that's cool. And that brings me to my next topic, which is if you could just break down what kind of tools and languages you use to build Boot Dev, and also what tools you use to run the business.
This is the best
part.
So
for the tech nerds out there, it is a fully custom built web app. So we use Golang on the back end. Postgres is our database. We host everything on Google Cloud and Cloudflare. We use Kubernetes, Docker, Vue, Nux, JavaScript, TypeScript. Again, very, very custom
complex
tech stack. For the marketing nerds out there, of course, we use PostHog for all of our product analytics, and we use SendGrid for all of our email stuff. We use their...
So wait, let's quickly analyze that, because those are the good parts.
We use Kubernetes, Docker, Vue. We host everything on Google Cloud.
For all the geeks, So if you're a solopreneur, this seems like a bit complex, especially if you have no idea how to code. I mean, this seems like, it sounds good, the 1 million per month at the beginning, but this tech stack is stacking. It is stacking to say the least. I mean, yeah.
And Cloudflare. We use Kubernetes, Docker, Vue, Nux, JavaScript, TypeScript. Again, very, very custom tech stack. For the marketing nerds out there, of course, we use PostHog for all of our product analytics, and we use SendGrid for all of our email stuff. We use their email API, and using both together it eliminates another bill, but it also just makes integration easier. And then for the fintech nerds, we're just using Stripe. Stripe is great. I can't imagine using anything else at this point.
On that same topic, these tools cost money. I'd love to get a little bit more details on the actual costs of this business, not just the tools, but just the costs as a whole. What do the costs and margins look like for Boot Dev?
So our total revenue for 2024 was $5.7 million. The cost of goods sold on that revenue was only $300K. So we spent around $600,000 to $700,000 last year on salaries and like full-time contractors. And then the bulk of our expenses were marketing expenses. We spent almost $2 million on marketing, leaving us an actual profit at the end of the year of around $2.5 million.
Cool. All right. Well, that
kind of... So it's like half, 50%-ish.
Of the year of around $2.5 million.
Oh, cool. Yeah, because it's 5.7. Huh. Okay. I wonder, I'm curious. I mean, marketing is marketing. I guess it is what it is. But I'm curious if they could try maybe inject a lot of organic marketing strategies in there to help bring the marketing costs down. Because I thought, to be honest with you, initially I thought they were pocketing a lot more than that percentage-wise, like maybe, I don't know, 80% or something, where you could operate very, very lean and just start slicing those costs down. Salaries will probably stay the same because it's tech, so, you know, it is what it is. But I'll target marketing and start building like some form of a YouTube channel and think way more long term. That's what I would do. And obviously they're crushing it, so I'm not saying, oh well, they're not crushing. Okay, you get exactly what I'm saying. But I'll just say I would lean into that. If this was my own business, I would lean heavily into that marketing, build the own YouTube channel, all of these things, and actively pump out content, you know, and then take it to the next level essentially. But yeah, the volume will come back.
Profit at the end of the year of around $2.5 million.
Cool. All right. Well, that kind of ends the technical section of the interview. I'd just love to hear a little bit more about your personal life or just your regular life. What does a day in the life look like for you? You work from an office or you working from home or what?
Okay, so this is just the normal part, office or home. I get it doesn't really matter. Does he work out? Because I saw like
we're running at some point during the day, taking my kids to the gym. I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Yeah, so it's good that he tries to stay active. I mean, health is wealth, as they say. So it's good. Advice to new founders. This might be good. Advice to new founders. Let's see.
Think about your business education as a content consumption phase and then an action phase. And I think, you know, through traditional education, we're kind of taught to think this way, right? I go to college for 4 years and then I do stuff. I think that's absolutely the wrong way to approach business. The biggest mistake is not taking action early, not starting a side project. And the second...
All right, this is just general advice. Get started. Like I've always told you guys on this channel, I just wanted to see some comments real quickly. I've seen this guy in almost every gaming video I've watched in the past years. Okay, Lane has okay, that's calm. Appreciate the more complete breakdown. Okay, cool. Yep, really interesting. Always waiting for starts. I'm telling you, it's like an addiction, a strange addiction. I appreciate the full balance sheet breakdown 100%. LOL, wasn't expecting the extra camera angle. What's this? What did I miss? What did we miss?
Differentiators along the way as we grew the business over the last 4 years. The first was a content differentiation.
Yeah, we appreciate that. They went in production quality. It was good. This channel is the best. 100%. So go show love to the channel as always, guys. And yeah, let me know which ideas you're potentially thinking of that's scaring you, and you're yet to start. You're sitting on this idea, you know it's such a good idea, but you just, I don't know, you're afraid. Let me know in the comment section down below so I can steal your idea and start it. I'm joking, obviously. But yeah, let me know, because I'm very intrigued. Like, you know, I'm always interested in seeing what other people think out there, what ideas, how their brain processes and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. God bless.